Good day. So the topic we'll be discussing today is about the agile process. And specifically, we will be understanding about the Scrum process. So what is this agile Scrum? So Scrum is an agile software development method which was conceived by Jeff Sutherland and his development team in the early 1980s. So in recent years, further development on these Scrum methods has been performed by Schwaber and Weeder. Scrum principles are consistent with the Agile Manifesto and are used to guide development activities within a process that incorporates the following framework activities. That is, beginning with requirements, analysis, design, evaluation, and delivery. Within each framework activity, work tasks occur within a process pattern called a sprint. The work conducted within a sprint is adapted to the problem at hand and is defined and often modified in real time by the Scrum team. The overall flow of the Scrum process is given in the figure here. So Scrum emphasizes the use of a set of software process patterns that is proven to be effective for projects with tight timelines, changing requirements, and criticality. Each of these process patterns define a set of development activities, beginning with backlog. There is a prioritized list of project managements, featured business value to the customer. Items can be added to the backlog. The product manager assesses the backlog and updates priorities as required. So as we can understand from this slide that Agile is one of the software process model which has a framework or a process pattern which is called a sprint, and it details about certain process patterns. So let us see the figure they have given here. So as you can see, this is the Scrum process flow. So you can see on the left side bottom wherein the features that have been decided during the stakeholder discussion or the initial stage of requirements elicitation. So there these features are decided. So the product backlog is the whole list of features. Then it's decided which one is to be prioritized as requested by the customer. So accordingly, it's moved on to the initial or the next stages of sprint. So as you can see, the backlog items are expanded by the team. So a minimum of 2 weeks to 4 weeks is the sprint timeline. So what happens every 24 hours is, as you can see on the right side top, the Scrum team will sit and have a 15-minute daily meeting. So what do they discuss in that 15 minutes? So these three questions will be discussed. First one be, what did you do since last Scrum meeting? So the Scrum Master, developer, and the product owner, so Scrum Master, developer, and the product owner. Scrum Master will be convening the meeting. So there they will try to discuss amongst all the members what did they really do since last Scrum meeting. Then they will try to go to the next question about do you have any obstacles? That is, was there any problem that you were facing when you were trying to perform certain tasks? With that answer, they will move on to the next question about what will you do before next meeting? That is, what is it you are gonna begin right now? So what did they do? Was there any problems they faced? And what is that they are going to do before the next meeting? So this discussion will be happening every 24 hours and they will keep delivering the features and that will be taken for feedback. So the process patterns that we have seen, the first one being the backlog. And this diagram, hope it's pretty clear about the sprint backlog, product backlog, then the 24 hours, every 24 hours meeting, Scrum meeting, daily meeting, 15 minutes between Scrum Master, product owner, and developers. So first one being the backlog, next one being the sprints. So sprints consist of work units that are required to achieve a requirement defined in the backlog that must be fit into a predefined time box, typically 30 days. 30 days is the maximum time. So if there are any changes, that is backlog work items, changes are not introduced during the sprint. This needs to be understood. That is when sprint is being carried out, you will not be able to include any changes. So sprint allows team members to work in a short term but stable environment. So there are no changes that are taken into consideration. So the first two patterns, that is backlog sprints, then Scrum meetings. Scrum meetings, as we discussed, are short, that is mostly 15 minutes, just held daily by the Scrum team. So the three key questions are asked and answered by all team members. So what did you do since the last team meeting? What obstacles are you encountering? What do you plan to accomplish by the next team meeting? So these three questions will be asked and answered by all the team members. With that, the Scrum Master, which was the team leader, will lead the team and assess the response from each person. So this person will be facilitating the team meeting. So the Scrum meeting helps the team to uncover potential problems as early as possible and try to find a solution for it. In addition, these daily meetings lead to knowledge socialization and also helps in promoting a self-organizing team structure. So demos. So demos will deliver the software increment to the customer so that functionality that has been implemented can be demonstrated and evaluated by the customer. So it is clearly evident that whenever a particular sprint has been completed, that is between 2 weeks to 4 weeks, the feature will be evaluated by the customer and they will try to understand if all the features have been incorporated properly or not, and they will try to provide their feedback. And this feedback will not be attended by the Scrum team immediately, but they will be having that in the backlog. That is not in the sprint backlog, it will be towards the product backlog. And from there on, it will be taken into the priority according. So it is important to note that demo may not contain all planned functionality, but rather those functions that can be delivered within the time box that was established. So this time box for every feature or functionality will be decided in the initial stage. That is, as desired by the customer, that is which one to go first, which feature is to be delivered next. That discussion will be happening with the customer, and accordingly, that particular functionality will be delivered and it will have that particular limited feature or limited functionality. So, as informed earlier, Weedle and his colleagues present a comprehensive discussion of these patterns in which they state Scrum assumes upfront the existence of chaos. So, the patterns that we discussed, that is beginning with the backlog and then the sprints and then the team meeting. So, with this process that's being followed, Scrum process model will clearly notify or showcase if there is any particular issues that is prevailing. Accordingly, an action plan can be implemented and you'll be able to successfully deliver the functionalities as and when they are getting completed. So the Scrum process patterns enable a software team to work successfully in a world where the elimination of uncertainty is impossible. So, as it's mentioned, the key questions that is during the Scrum team meeting, it is clearly understood about what was exactly carried out by the team members. Was there any problem they were facing during the execution? And what is that they are planning to do in the or before the next Scrum meeting? So, with that discussion, Scrum team that is involving Scrum Master, developers, and the product owner, they will have a clear idea on what is to be done, what problems are being faced, if there is any specific assistance that can be provided, and accordingly, an action plan will be carried out by the product owner, the Scrum Master, and developers about the possible solution, and they will be delivering the demos and the functionality. If not being successfully completed, then there will be feedback from the customer on what is that's missing and how exactly that can be fixed will be decided in the subsequent sprint and it will be added in the backlog. So this is how they carry out this Scrum process model, and that pictorial representation was clearly detailing about how what is the product backlog, listing out all the features, and then the sprint backlog that will have various sprints involved with the features and functionalities. And every 24 hours, we'll have the meeting, a 15-minute daily meeting, wherein the three key questions are discussed and according actions are being taken. So, with that, we come to the end of this session. And for additional information, you shall refer these textbooks for your reference. Thank you.